Oh, we're back. I wasn't sure if we were in. I didn't do that. I missed that. All right. Okay, good. Hey,
Hi.
good thing I wasn't
Well,
cursing.
wait. No, well, we're strictly on Facebook now. Radio has ended.
Okay. So we're safe.
Yes.
Okay, so we're joined right now by Dr. Dain Heer, author of the best-selling book, Being You, Changing the World. And by the way, I talk about this all the time on Liquid Lunch, that if you ain't you, you ain't nobody. And you can't let anybody make you be something you ain't. It's never gonna happen. But being you, changing the world is making a difference in many, many people's lives. And Being You Day is this Saturday, May 22nd. Dr. Dain Heer joins us right now, but heretofore, it's not his first time. He's, now a regular. So I usually call the doctors I like and keep by their first name. So Dr. Dain, how are you, brother?
I'm phenomenal. How about you, John?
I'm doing good. Thank goodness. I love the stuff you talk about. I am a principal follower of a author by the name of Balthazar Grazian, who wrote the book, The Art of Worldly Wisdom. And it talks about, basically achieving your own greatness by humility, grounding yourself in everybody means something and every day is a learning experience, and always be humble to know that you have something to learn and get better at. I think a lot of people miss the mark on that they kind of get pushed around into letting themselves get pigeonholed to be something that they aren't, mostly for financial security, I would imagine.
I'd say the financial security, but also the security of feeling like people like you. So many people are interested in being liked, and they will go to no ends to achieve that, or they will have no limits on what they'll do to achieve it. And the thing is, you can either be one of the sheep in the herd, or you can be the neon sheep that leads the rest of the herd. But not from force, but it's like we've all seen a lot of people who are more interested in their image than anything else. And it doesn't create more for us or for them. And people who are actually willing to put it out there and be uniquely them, authentically them, they create a different invitation for everybody else. And like you said, either be you or go home, or in this case, you are home. What would it take to be you at home? That's when you actually inspire other people to greatness.
Yeah, I was mentioning to you a little earlier, but in my church service, which I have at my house every Sunday, part of what they were talking about was, I believe, in the book of Daniel. I'm not the greatest scripture citer, but I think it was the book of Daniel. And when the Israelites were enslaved, they were giving them different names. And in the sermon, the guy was talking about how many people define themselves by their job. Hey, I'm John, I'm a blank. And many of those people were challenged to their faith level. Like, are you going to embrace being categorized as not an Israelite and go by this name? Or are you going to stay true to yourself? What do you think about people kind of accepting their identity as their job?
Well, it's so prevalent. And the difficulty with that is we lose out on everything else that's really true for us. And when somebody is being them, whatever the heck that is, and that's different for every single one of us, but when they're actually being them, it's like they have a sense of peace. They look at the person in the mirror and they actually like the person looking back at them. And they navigate the world differently. They're not looking to what bandwagon can I jump on? What's the latest trend that I can go for? It's like, okay, where would I like to go? What would I like to do? And what really fulfills me? What makes me happy? And also, where can I contribute to other people in creating their worlds as greater? You were speaking about a level of humility, which is when somebody's truly being them, they have a level of humility and a willingness to contribute. And they're always looking for what else is possible here. And if we can just ask, there's a few questions that we can ask that sort of get us in that direction. And one of which is, if I were truly being me in this situation, what would I choose? And also, who am I trying to be that I'm not? Because so many people are trying to be something to get accepted, to fit in, rather than going, hey, here I am. You can love it or hate it, but it's still me.
Yeah, I talk to like young entrepreneurs and younger people. I coached football for years and I become friends with those kids years later. They're in their careers. They come to me for a little advice and things like that. And I always say to them like, oh man, I wish I went to that college. I should have took that first job out of college. And I always say this to them. You tell me if this I'm on point because I like to mentor them right. I always say, look, where you are right now, are you at peace? Are you kind of happy? And we always want more, but where you are standing right now in this moment, are you at peace? You're good, right? You look healthy, family's good, you're good, right? Don't ever say you wish that, or didn't happen because you could be standing 2 steps over with a bullet in the middle of your forehead from a freak accident or something. And I always try to tell people like, if you can pull yourself in the moment, stay present. Am I doing okay? Then you should never have any regrets about what you've done because it brought you right to that spot.
Exactly that. And it's all the choices, you know, it's the things that you said no to, it's the things that you said yes to. And that's part of this whole idea of being us is getting out of the judgment of us for what we have and haven't chosen and go, hey, you know what? I did the best job I could with the tools I had available and the awareness I had available at the time. And also look what that gave me. Because every choice we make, every experience we have gives us something, even if it's just more awareness of what we don't want for the future. But a lot of times we need to make those choices so we can figure out what the heck we do or don't want.
All right. So aside from being a great chiropractor, a great world-renowned author, you've taken it upon yourself to create International Being You Day, which is this Saturday. And I would encourage everyone to, you know, wear whatever you want, do whatever you want, throw caution to the wind and be you for one day because it'll probably feel damn good. But some people, Dr. Dain, well, let me ask you, what made you try to start an international day of being you? Where does that come from?
I wrote that book, Being You, Changing the World, and the feedback that I got from people was, wow, after this, I've come out of so much of the wrongness of me. I feel like I'm not alone. I feel like I belong, and I'm liking my life. I'm actually creating it in a different direction now. So I created International Being You Day because, let's face it, the world needs more of this. And if we had a bunch of people being them, we'd have a different world. And so it's at beingyouday.com. We've got something like 7 hours of online material at this point to keep that inspiration going for people.
All right. Can you stay a couple more minutes? I want to talk a little more. All right. Dr. Dain Heer is with us. He's a best-selling author of Being You, Changing the World. Also the founder of International Being You Day, which is this Saturday. So I encourage you all to be you. A lot of people tend to spend more time trying to please someone else, like their spouse or their employer or their neighbor, whatever, whatever. And me being, a capitalist, I always think most people are motivated by money on that. I don't know if I'm right, but why is it innate in people to, screw themselves to please others? I do it.
Well, I think that's exactly the thing, and money is one of the motivations. And so people will do whatever they need to keep the money going in, but also being liked by people is another one of the motivations. Fitting in is another one of the motivations. And also nobody's shown us a different way. That's also why I created the day. It's like, nobody's shown us you can actually be you and have everything you want. And not only that, you get to have it on your terms. And being you is not, I'm this and everybody get out of my way. It's not an inflexible position. It's actually a totally flexible position because when you have you can do something you need to do for somebody else that you may not want to do, but it doesn't take anything away from you. You can do this at work if you have to, but you don't lose you in the process. And that's sort of the difference about it. And we haven't had people show us that this is actually even possible.
So we're talking to Dr. Dain Heer, best-selling author of Being You, Changing the World, founder of International Being You Day this Saturday. I've had some great relationship experts on. I've had some great therapists. Dr. Carol Liebman. She's America's psychiatrist. And we talk about this all the time, that being you, that a lot of people that have some kind of depression or something, and a lot of this country is, stricken with different types of depressions. you know, borderline disorders, bipolar, you know, all these different things, right? Um, and people like kind of get to a place where they can't like be loved or even do anything because they don't love them. So how do you be you if you don't know you? You know what I mean?
That is exactly it. And you can't talk somebody into being them. You can't talk them into what it is to be them. You know, you got to experience it. You know, and that's also
Oh
why,
yeah.
you know, it's like, hey, here's this, you be this, you know, that's sort of the antithesis, you know. So the reason I created the day is because what I found is people will have certain experiences that they're sort of like the sometimes wow experiences where they go, yes, that I knew when I was doing that, I was being me. And that's why I created the day, because I wanted to put together several people's different points of view, several people's invitations to where people could watch it and participate. And there's all kinds of other ways people can participate. You go to beingyouday.com and it's all there, different things that are suggestions, but to give people the experience of it, because once somebody has the experience of it, they never lose it. Now, they may not always live as that, but it's always there for them. And they go, wow, you know what? When I was doing this, I felt so much like me. Like I had no judgment. I had no thoughts in my head. I just felt so good about myself and everybody else. Those sorts of experiences are what give us the awareness of what is this thing called being us. And then with that, then we can go, okay, I'd like to have more of that. Now, then how do I go and create that? How do I choose? Because it's a choice we got to make.
I'll take a second helping of that. So like when they get a little dose, right, then you want to come back for more. But let me ask you this. I know you use like some unique tools and things to get people to empower more or, you know, be themselves more or express themselves differently. What for people out there, I love when people kind of learn a little takeaway or something from great experts like you. They have a family member or a loved one or something that is in some kind of depression or malaise or something. They don't even know you can transmit them all the love and common sense you want, but they can't receive it, right? They're just there, right?
Yeah.
Are there anything someone could do to kind of like, you know, try to spur it, you know, reminder, an exercise and say, hey, man, snap out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, here's the thing that I found with people who are going through depression. The one thing that seems to help them is letting them know that you're there for them and letting them know that they're not wrong, because they tend to live in such a sense of wrongness. And a lot of times it was one event that started it from there, where they judge themselves as wrong for something, and they judge themselves as wrong and then they have to hide it. And it starts this snowball effect where all they can see is wrongness. Because the thing is, your point of view creates your reality. Reality doesn't create your point of view. So the point of view you have about something is basically what you're going to see in your life. And if you can take somebody who's got depression, you know, look them in the eye, say, I just want you to know, no matter what goes on for you, I am here for you. If you can, give them a hug if they're open to that, and say to them, I just want you to know you're not wrong. No matter what it is you're dealing with, no matter what it is you're going through, you are not wrong, and I am here. And if you ever need to talk, I'm here. Want to go out for a coffee, want to go out for a drink, let's do that. And the other thing you can do is let them just spew, because a lot of people with depression they've got so much built up and nobody's ever listened to them without judging them. And so they're in such a state of judgment. You listen without judgment and truly be there for them. That alone could begin to change their world. And also one other awareness can be very helpful.
Well, let me just stop you right there, because, you know, I'm not kind of analytical. I'm not a doctor, but, you know, I don't know if you ever read the book Outliers, which is a phenomenal book for anybody who, after you're done reading Being You, Changing the World, check out Outliers. It talks about how, you know, what would seem like underachievers or outliers, like people like late birthdays and stuff like that, who tend to be shown to be driven greater by knowing innately that they're behind the people, and they tend to overperform because they've built a life of trying to keep up, if you know what I'm saying, right? So yeah. What about the outlier when you said, well, hey, this is loving. I want you to know I'm here for you. And I want you to know you're not wrong. And I'm here for you. What if they are wrong in what they're doing? No, I'm being serious. You can't, it's like enabling them. If you just tell somebody, oh, you're not wrong. I know you just robbed grandma's jewelry. You're not wrong. I'm here for you. You know what I mean? Like how do you, that's what I'm saying. Like, what is the outlier on that? Okay, that you are wrong.
I love that question. That's a different case. Okay. So the people that are functioning from the depression, the anxiety, the stress, that are actually the outliers tend to be the sensitive individuals, tend to be the one who try to take on everybody else's problems. They tend to be the ones that are really aware, and they're aware of everybody else's sadness, depression, and they actually try to take it away and heal it. That's one case. So that's the other one. When somebody is doing this, and you said when somebody is wrong, sometimes it's appropriate to call bullshit on bullshit, and go, hey, maybe you feel this way because you just stole grandma's jewelry, and hello.
I know. I knew I liked this guy right there. Let's just call bullshit on the bullshit. Nah, I get it. Look, I understand where you're coming from, and just to give all angles, because I think there's people, if they do hit a patch of depression, they tend to be dealing with all these demons and doing all things that don't make maybe other people in their universe, employer, friend, family, lover, just don't do the right thing. You know what I mean? And so maybe that same, grab the shoulders, look them in the eye, and, I'm here for you, but you were wrong on this one. Does that work, or that sets them like crazy?
Hey, like, I'm here for you. And is it, you've been creating this crap ever since you did this. Is it possible? Because here's the thing, if you tell somebody they're wrong, if you confront somebody with something and it's not their point of view, you're not going to get anywhere. Yeah. You'll just stick them and you'll stick you. But if you ask them a question and you go, hey, is it possible that ever since you've done that, like you knew that was wrong, but you chose to do it anyway, and now are you punishing yourself? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I get
ask
it.
them, because they know. Look, they know if you ask them a question.
I cover a wide array of topics on this show, but one of the things that I always, try to get to my audience is, some informative stuff for someone they love, someone they care about, anything, their business, their home. And one of my macros in life is kind of laws of attraction, that if you put positive thought into the universe and you work towards it, you do have that outlying reminder that just doing that is not going to automatically make it happen, but you are committed to the thought of, if I work hard, I keep my head down, I keep my faith, the more I put that out there, the more that's going to come back to me. And I always try to encourage people on that front. Do you follow Russell Brand at all?
Yep.
Okay. So Russell Brand, I watch him here and there. I can't take all of it, but I think there's some parts of it that he's really brilliant on, if you can call Russell Brand brilliant, right? But he did this segment, I forget what the phrase you said before. You said, like, you can't change your environment, or you can change. What was that phrase?
Your point of view creates your reality. Reality doesn't create your point of view.
Okay. And I saw this really super cool thing with Russell Brand and this like famous kind of molecular biologist or something. And he was talking about how, in his view, he redefined the composition of a cell, a human cell. And I don't know if you ever saw this episode, but, this will take you down to, for those of you watching, this is Uncle JT on microbiology. Okay. But this guy was talking about how each and every cell, right, is living and responsive to the environment it is exposed to, right? So I'm thinking, like, on what you're saying, if you get yourself in the right environment, right, then those cells are going to be affected even by the environment you're in. And the doctor, he posits to viewers of this that a cell has been mischaracterized through time as, this, fictional orb with a nucleus that's the brain of it, right? And he says that the nucleus is the microprocessor, but the brain is the membrane on the outside of the cell. And he proved this by taking the same exact cells from a rat or a gerbil or something, right? And put them in 3 different petri dishes with the same exact DNA, RNA, all the same genetics, right? Came from the same thing at the same time, and affected them in different ways with light, sound, vibration, culture, and was able to grow skin in one, in cell replication. He was able to grow bone in another, right? And replicate the atoms in another. So the same exact genetics were actually affected by their environment to change themselves, basically. Am I close? Yeah.
Oh, you're not only close, but let's now look at each individual on this planet as a cell that is far more affected by our environment than anybody's acknowledging. And part of the work that I do, because I work with thousands of people around the world, and a lot of the work that I do is getting them to, and this is the whole idea of being you, actually, which is getting them to realize how much effect the environment is trying to impose. And then how do you find yourself within that and not be the effect, but use it all? Because you can't, we're living on this planet with 8 billion people. You can't avoid the environment that's around us energetically. And so how do you get to the place where you can be that cell that's not diminished and detracted by the environment, but is nourished and is willing to be greater and also receive everything that is, but not be limited by it? And one of the things that we found that is really helpful for people is when you're having thoughts, feelings, and emotions, basically that environment around you, you can actually ask, who does this belong to? Or is this actually mine? When you get stressed about money, stressed about whatever's going on in the world, stressed about whatever, ask, is this mine? If it lightens up at all, it's actually the environment around you. And so it's a way of getting to things, because if you're a lot of people have their monkey mind going all the time. And this is a way of eliminating about 98% of it. And then you only have to deal with the 2% that's left.
Let me ask you this. I read about this sometimes, and I don't know, if it's scientific or whatever, but a lot of people, it's written in a lot of different ways that sometimes, just picking your ass up and changing your orientation can actually have a great effect. Like I'm in this, I'm on this gerbil wheel every day. I'm doing my show from 12 to 2. I'm up at 6 o'clock. Everybody's annoying me from 10 o'clock, except Carla, of course, because she's my fearless leader and boss.
Yes.
And then after I'm done, I got 10 calls piled up, people calling me while I'm on air, and I get right. And sometimes I just think, you know what? And I'm not kidding you. I used to walk to my office from my parking garage and make a right and go in my building. But some days, if I was just like kicking it the wrong way, my signals were crossed and everything, I would say, something's got to give. And I would make a left, and then I would make a right and a right and a right and come back to my office. So I would walk a different path to work just to break the monotony of my life. Can people do little exercises like that to kind of change their orientation? Maybe, I never saw it from this side of the street. You know what I'm saying? Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. And there's so many things that help. And breaking, creating a pattern interrupt is extremely helpful. I mean, truly, just walking a different way to work. It's like, because you can't be on autopilot at that point. You have to actually get present. And the difficulty is a lot of the stuff where it's like, oh man, just shoot me, I don't want to be here, is actually when we're functioning from the autopilot, which is why I keep bringing it back to the being you thing, because when you're actually being you, you're present a lot more of the time. Yeah, you still have autopilot, but it doesn't run your whole life. Because people whose lives are run on autopilot, it's like they get really bored of that, within a short amount of time.
All right. let's also be fair, because I really appreciate your shameless promotion of Being You Day. So we have to bring it back to Being You, because the idea of this segment is to promote International Being You Day. So thank you for bringing me back on course. But look, we had a little extra time today. I talk about money, I talk about finance, I talk about politics, but I always try to get to me, self-empowering, self-educating, teaching things for our audience so they can take stuff away and say, oh, I want to go watch JT again because I'm going to learn something today. And we need guys like you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
As do I. Thank you.
Dr. Dain here, and go out on Saturday, and it's International Being You Day. Be freaking you. Okay. Carla is, thank you, Dr. Dain Heer. Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks, guys.
All right. All right.